So, it's a couple of days later. Didn't end up getting through everything in my last video. I got disturbed before I could finish it. So I've come out here again today to go through these tropical and subtropical plants that I have going. We have a frost predicted on Saturday, so it's Thursday today, and a possibly severe frost predicted for Sunday or Monday, with the temperature dropping down to 1 or 0 degrees Celsius. This means I've only got a couple of days to get some of these plants under cover. This banana in particular will need to get covered up, or else it's going to get toasty. So moving over to this way, we've got a curry leaf plant here. Now these curry leaf plants, I don't even bother moving in winter, at least in the last few years. They have died back to the base in some years, and I do believe that when they get really severe frosts like this one does in winter time, it stunts the growth of the plant. But this produces more than enough leaves for me to cook with and use, so I'm quite happy to let that keep going. Last year it didn't even lose all of its leaves. Some of these leaves down here you can see which are in a bit worse condition. These are on the plant going through last winter, and they're still there today, so it can quite happily get through a winter with frosts and cold well below 0. Behind that we have a new entry from Dailies. This is a Macadamia Nut. I've never grown macadamia before, but what I've read online is that even though they are subtropical, they are quite hardy. They're quite frost tolerant, at least down to -2, -3. Now I'm going to move this undercover this year at least, and this will probably end up in the ground, being protected across the harshest days in winter, maybe after next year. But this season I'll give it a bit of babying, give it a chance for that main stem to grow a bit thicker, get a bit more foliage on it to protect the tree as those frosts come along. We have the Tahitian Lime, which is fruiting at the moment. Limes typically don't love the cold or the frost. This one I've allowed to just sit out here in this position across last winter, and again it might have stunted the growth a little bit. It's a bit anemic this year. It hasn't put on much growth, although it does have all of these beautiful limes growing on it now. We'll see how that goes. It's going to remain on the deck across winter again this year. So a ginger plant down here in a pot. Now, I've never grown ginger before this year, so don't really know what to expect from it. I think I will probably actually end up harvesting this one if it dies down, and then replanting the tubers for next year, the rhizomes under there. I can't see any real reason to try and overwinter it further than this, although I do hear that they have quite nice flowers. Over this side we start to get some more really tropical plants. Now this one here, this one is a Rollinia, otherwise known as a Boricaba. This one is from Dailies as well. It's been in this pot now for around 3 weeks. Now I'm really interested in these Rollinia plants. These are in the Annona family, and this is a bunch of tropical plants that feature things like the Cherimoya, the Soursop, the Achacha, which is the custard apple. So I'm really excited to taste this one. They sometimes call it the lemon meringue pie fruit. It's meant to taste like a lemon meringue pie. So I'm really excited. I've got a few of these around. I really want to get any one of them to get through the winter. They're meant to be hardy down to around -1 or -2, but when they're fully mature, which this one obviously is not, this one is still a seedling, but they are meant to fruit within a couple of years of being planted, unlike some of the other fruit trees that I have, where it can take 5, 6, 7 years before they'll actually produce the fruit. So if I can get this one through the winter this year, there's a good chance that within a year or two this will produce a fruit of some sort that I can get to try. Behind that, this is another really subtropical, borderline tropical plant. This is an Achacha, sometimes called an Achacha. This is in the Garcinia family. This is the same family as the mangosteens. Produces a round, small to medium sized fruit. It's meant to be a mixture of sour and sweet. It's meant to be really delicious. So this one here I put in quite a large pot. This is in an 85 litre pot. This one here is around a 50 litre pot. This 85-90 litre pot that it's in, I'm hoping will be enough to actually have it live in this pot for the majority of its life. Never expecting to plant this one out into the garden. I never think it'll survive a Canberra winter. There's a very, very good chance that even under cover, that once those cold days come along, that this plant will not survive at all. This has quite leathery leaves. They're thick. So this Rollinia has soft, kind of beautiful lime green leaves. This one's thick and leathery, a bit like a bay leaf. Behind that we have a jelly palm or a wine palm. This is extremely hardy. This one won't be moving off the deck. This one is hardy down to maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe more. It produces fruits that are round. They look a little bit like a date, from a date palm. They are meant to taste tropical, like pineapple. I've never tried these either. I'm quite excited to see this one. This one will almost certainly go in the garden, in the ground, in the next year or so. This one here is a black Sapote. This is a grafted variety from Daly's. So this is the Boricaba variety. So you can see the graft on the plant just there. These black Sapotes are quite tropical, subtropical. They don't tolerate much below zero. They do quite well here in a shady position with about half day sun. I've tried black Sapote before from the shopping centre, from the markets, when they are very rarely available in Canberra. They have a dark flesh that is very soft. It's otherwise known as the black pudding fruit or the chocolate pudding fruit. Some people say tastes like chocolate, and it does look a little bit like chocolate pudding, but from my memory it wasn't very chocolatey at all. It was mildly sweet with not too much flavour. Now this is actually in the persimmon family, and you can see, if you get your hands on a black Sapote, that they do look the same similar shape as a persimmon. Behind that we have a Longan. Now Longans are apparently somewhat hardy, at least on a tropical fruit scale. They can take frost down to -1, maybe -2, maybe more than that when they're mature. This is a seedling from Daly's. I've never grown a Longan before. I've eaten Longan before. They're like a lychee that has a little bit less flavour. They are a beautiful looking tree. These leaves are really nice. They're kind of thick again, a bit like a bay leaf again. It's putting on some nice new growth up there. This one will definitely be undercover, and depending on how it fares undercover, it might actually even end up in the ground with me wrapping it in winter times to see how it goes. Behind that we have the first of my new set of avocados that I've got. This is a Fuerte. This one's also from Bunnings. Not from Bunnings, sorry, from Daly's. And the Fuerte avocado is meant to be one of the more cold hardy varieties. It's meant to be cold tolerant down to -2, -3, somewhere in that region. The story behind this one is there was a number of plants being grown in California, I believe, maybe Florida, and a huge frost came through and knocked almost all the avocados on the head. There was one variety of that bunch that survived, and they named it Fuerte, which I believe is Spanish, meaning strong. So I'm going to give it a go. It's not the most cold hardy avocado that's available in Australia, but it's certainly up there, and I think that with a bit of protection it should be fine. Last year I actually overwintered a Hass avocado, which is far less cold hardy, and that was just undercover where all these plants are going to be this year. So I really am hoping that these plants will get through without any issue or hassle at all. Down here, these two plants are Gipoticaba. Now I've never tried a Gipoticaba, but I'm very, very interested, very, very excited to see them grow. They're meant to be very slow to grow. They're meant to take between 7 to 9 years from a seedling to produce their first fruit. And the interesting thing about these Gipoticaba is that when they do fruit, they fruit along the stem of the plant. So you'll see all the flower buds kind of moving up the plant stem, and these will then turn into grape-like fruit. And they look like a large grape with either red or dark purple skin. And they taste apparently a little bit like grapes as well, but with a more intense flavour, maybe a grape candy sort of flavour. I've got a couple of varieties of Gipoticaba. This is a large leaf Gipoticaba from Daly's. This is just a generic Gipoticaba from eBay. And I've got a few more around the place. Behind that, another one that I'm really, really excited about. Now this one is starting to put on a fair bit of growth at the moment. It's got some buds coming out. It's looking quite healthy and happy. This is a white sapote. This is the only grafted white sapote that I have. This is the Kampong variety. White sapote are, although named sapote, like our black sapote over here, they are in a totally different family. They're in the citrus family. The white sapote has a round, creamy fruit that's meant to be quite sweet. It's meant to be one of the plants that produces more calories and more carbohydrates per tree than any other tree on the planet in terms of fruit. At least that's what I've been led to believe. They grow into quite a large tree. They're meant to have quite an invasive root system, but they're also meant to be quite cold tolerant. They're meant to be able to grow anywhere that a lemon can grow and anywhere that an orange can grow. Now I am going to protect these at least for the first couple of years to get these through our winters so that they're not too stressed. And then maybe I think I'll put them in the ground and see how they fare with a bit of wrapping up in the winter time. Behind that, this is one that I'm perhaps the most excited about, and these have beautiful soft leaves there. I've got like this very fine fur on them. They're just beautiful. This is a Cherimoya. And I was struggling all year. Cherimoya was the #1 plant that I really wanted to get my hands on to see if I could get it to live. And the Cherimoya is an anona. It's like the Rollinia. It is similar to a custard apple. It's similar to a soursop in some ways. I've never tried one, so this is the one that I'm perhaps the most looking forward to trying out of all the fruit trees that I have. Now this plant here is said to be subtropical, and it's said to like to look at the snow on the mountains, but it doesn't actually want to feel it. So it can take a bit of chill, and it likes a small amount of chill, but I think it's highly, highly unlikely that this will survive any sort of Canberra winter without some protection. I think that being covered, that there's a good chance that this will come through. Looking forward to seeing if we can't get a fruit off of this in the next year or so. Now, I had a lot of trouble getting a Cherimoya. I scoured the nurseries in Australia, online, on eBay, and I just could not find one. And eventually I called up Daly's and I said, I'd sent them an email earlier. And I said, do you guys have any Cherimoya? And they said, yeah, we have some Cherimoya, but they're not in saleable condition. And I gave up at that point, but later on they just happened to ring me up about another order I'd put in, and I said, listen, you guys had sent me an email a while ago saying that you had some unsaleable Cherimoyas. What would you think about perhaps chucking one of those in the box for me? And I'm quite happy to pay full price for that. And they said, yeah, why not, we'll chuck one in for you. And they charged me full price for it, which is fine. And it came with only a few leaves on it at the time, and since then, that was probably 6 to 8 to maybe longer weeks ago, it's put off all this new growth, and it's really happy, and I'm really looking forward to that one. Over this way, this is another white sapote. So white sapote, the scientific name Casimira edulis. This is a seedling variety from Daly's. And Casimiroa, I believe actually, sorry. Casimiroa. I am particularly bad at pronouncing these scientific names. This was named after a monk, I believe, that lived in South America, who identified a number of tropical plants, and the edulis refers to being edible. This one here, yet again another white sapote. This is another seedling. Now this one came from an eBay store. Casimiroa edulis. Now this one here, a lot of these plants, they came wrapped with these, I don't know what you call them, these tires, these pipe cleaners, these little plastic things with metal in the middle. And I didn't notice, but these have put on a lot of growth since I've got them. They were probably only around this height when I picked them up. And as they grew and grew, I didn't notice that one of the tires tying it to the stake had been cutting into the plant. So you can see there that this tie almost totally ring barked the plant. Cut through, and in fact I bought two of these at the same time. One of these is in the backyard at the moment, and I came outside one day to see the entire top half of the plant at a 90-degree angle to the rest of the stem, and I said, what's going on here? And I went and saw that it had been totally ring barked through. The entire stem had been almost sliced through. A bit of wind had come along, and that was the end of that. I had to chop it off here. Now luckily these plants have some buds down the stem, or at least the one in the backyard does, and it seems to be budding out even after having its head chopped off. This one here, this is one that I am not looking positively towards getting through the winter, even covered. This is one of the more frost intolerant. It's a mango. This is a Kensington Pride. It's a seedling. I believe that Kensington Pride grows true to type, unlike most plants where you plant a seedling and you can get many types of different variants of the original mother and father plant. The Kensington Pride, I believe, will grow true to type. And this is putting on some new growth now, but it's not cold yet. So we'll see how this goes over the winter. If the Fuerte Avocado got through, this is a similar cold tolerance. Let's see how it goes. See if we can get through with that one as well. Headed down this way. This is another wine or jelly palm. This one will also end up in the ground eventually, and I'm not going to bother covering this one up. Another avocado. This one just arrived. This one is a wort, so it's only been in a pot here at my house for around 2 weeks. Now the Fuerte Avocado is another one that's meant to be somewhat cold hardy, still not cold hardy enough to survive unprotected Canberra winter, so this will definitely be covered up. The one behind this, another avocado. This is a bacon avocado. Now bacon, at least in Australia, are the most cold hardy of all the avocados, and it's reputed to be, when mature, to be able to get down to -6, -7, maybe -8 degrees Celsius without dying. Now I have one of these in the backyard at the moment. It's planted in the ground in a protected location, and it got through winter just fine. So it did suffer some leaf burn after one of our -6 degree days, but it did get through without dying. So I do have a lot of hope for these bacon avocados. And this is a type B avocado. Other types, like this wort, is a type A avocado, and that refers to the flowers and how they open and close. So they will open as a male, I believe, in the morning, and then they'll close up, and the next day they'll open up in the afternoon as a female, or something along those lines. I'm not particularly good with my avocado flowers. But what it means is that having these two types, they alternate their patterns. So when the male flowers are open on one, the female flowers will be open on the other, which will greatly enhance the pollination chance. Now there is a bit of crossover as well, so there will be times when both male and female flowers will be present on the same plant, so you don't need to have a pollinator for these avocados, but having a male and a female, a type A and a type B, will greatly increase the chances of getting fruit off these plants. This one here is another black sapote. This is another named grafted variety. This is a superb from Daly's. Similar to the other one, this will go undercover. Interested to see if there's a difference in taste between the named black sapote varieties. And right next to that we have another mango. Now this mango is called Keat. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this is meant to be one of the more cold hardy types of avocado. This one here is actually pushing out some flowers at the moment. Probably not very wise. I would love to see these get through. It's in quite a large pot just in case it does get through. And we'll see if I can't get this to put a fruit off in Canberra. Even a single fruit from a mango tree would be a great accomplishment. Over here we have some casualties of our cold weather already. So this year we've already had a couple of days where we've got below 5 degrees. We've got down to as low as, I believe, positive 2.5 degrees Celsius. And this plant didn't like it at all. I believe that this is a soursop. The one next door to this, I believe, was a lychee. And it might be other way around. They might not be a lychee and a soursop at all. I didn't label these foolishly, so I'm kind of stuck here wondering. But I did buy a soursop, and I'm sure it arrived. And I'm sure that this is she. So the soursop is absolutely one of the hardest to grow in cold conditions. It's not hardy at all. It will become very, very angry and sad and scared at temperatures below 5 degrees. And I think that's what's happened to this one here. The lychee is similar. Lychees are quite tropical, if that's what this even is. And if you guys know what this plant is, please let me know. I think it's a lychee. So we'll see how they go. Not particularly positive towards the survival of that plant. Over here we have another baby Gipoticaba. So this one was bought online just from eBay, so we'll see how that goes. And two more casualties here. These were Pitangatuba. Now these should be able to survive no problem. No problem at all, at least the temperature we've had. But I planted these. They came delivered from eBay in newspaper wrapped cups. You can kind of see the newspaper there where the cups were wrapped in. You can see at the top of the newspaper there where this one was wrapped in. And I didn't remove that newspaper. I thought, look, water can get through there fairly easy. It's probably best not to disturb the roots if we can get away with it. But yeah, neither of these plants have survived getting transferred from their little newspaper cups into these pots. So that must be a good sign that this shouldn't be done again in future, and they should actually be unwrapped. Another black sapote. This is a seedling. This one's from eBay. It's got nice growth on this. I actually had a second one of these, but I gave it away this morning. Don't need 20 million black sapote, but I will keep a couple of them. And here we have a guava. This is a white Indian guava. It's putting a lot of nice growth. It's doing really, really well. Quite happy about that. Over here, Grumichama. Again, put on a lot of nice growth over the last few weeks. This has probably been in pot for 8 weeks, maybe longer now, maybe 12 weeks. Doing really, really well. After Daly sent me out their Cherimoya that was in less than saleable condition, the next time I put an order in, they happened to call me up again. And I said, hey, if you remember sending me out that less than saleable Cherimoya, please, if you've got another one, get it to me. I'll be happy to pay full price for it again. And this is the one that they sent out. Now this has only been in a pot for about 2 to 3 weeks. I put in a fairly large pot. It's a seedling. So we'll see how this one goes. It hasn't lost any leaves during the transpotting or the repotting, so it's doing quite well. Another Gipoticaba. This one's from Daly's. It's a seedling. This one's putting on some new growth. So this one's doing well. This has been in a pot now for 6 to 8, maybe longer weeks. I can't remember when I potted all these plants up. But this one's a little bit larger than the rest, so we'll see how that goes. This is another Rollinia. So this Rollinia is from Daly's. It's quite healthy at the moment. We'll see how that goes. Now down here, these little pots, I have some seedlings started. These are another fruit in the Annona family, like the Rollinia, like the Cherimoya. These are American Pawpaws. Now American Pawpaws are different to the Pawpaws that we're used to seeing in the shops. Asimina triloba. Some people say they should be called an Asamoya, like the Cherimoya or the Atamoya, so that we can recognize that they're in this Annona family rather than in the papaya family, which is what we see at the shops. Now this one here I got from another nursery. They were packed, I would say, poorly compared to the standards that I've been getting from other nurseries, and especially from Daly's. I've got that one there as a grafted variety, and this one here is another same grafted variety from the same nursery. Not very impressed with the way they came. They came in a box with all the leaves had fallen off. They were not healthy at all. I do, however, have all these little seedlings that I had ordered and I planted, and they took around 3 to 4 months to come up. Some of them are still coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing how these plants go. Now the good thing about these American Pawpaws is that they are actually Annonas, but they're hardy. They have a tropical flavour that's meant to be like a banana or a pineapple or a mango. They sometimes call them hillbilly bananas in the US, and they grow in patches. So they like to grow in little pawpaw patches with several together. They've got a very long taproot. They will lose their leaves in winter and they'll come back every spring, and they send out runners, suckers as well, and they kind of form thickets or patches or groves of these pawpaw trees. Another look at the figs. And here is another poorly potted Rollinia. I've potted it on a bit of an angle. I don't know if you can see, but it's not very straight. See how this one goes. It's not looking as healthy as the other ones. I'm quite sure why. It's the same potting mix, the same love and care. Another white Sapote. You can see I really want these guys to get by with a lot of them. This is another seedling. This one is from eBay. It's another Guava. This is a Hawaiian pink Guava. This one's doing really well in its pot down there. It's put on a lot of growth. These guys are fairly hardy compared to other subtropical plants. I think it'll have no problem at all getting through the Canberra winter undercover. Here we have another type of pawpaw. Like sometimes call them a Highlands pawpaw, a mountain pawpaw, sometimes called the champagne fruit. It's a babacao. And this one here, there's a number of fruits on it already. They've got really cool flowers as well. So the flowers come out looking like this, and then they turn into these fruits here. And it's called the champagne fruit because some people says it has a fizzy sort of a texture when you're eating them. I've watched a number of YouTube videos of people trying these fruits, and from their expression, I don't think it's going to be the most tasty fruit in the world. I think it's going to be okay. But I'm very interested to try it. I love trying new fruits that I've never tried before. And so this babacao, very excited. And these fruits here, I'm hoping are going to ripen. I don't know. We've only got a few weeks. We've only got a few days to our first frost. But we've only got a few weeks until we start hitting those negative temperatures almost every week. I really love this plant though. It's got these huge leaves on it. They're like, I don't even know what shape you would call these, but they're just beautiful. So I'm really hoping that if this one can hold up against the cold temperatures, that I can get it going and surviving underground. The size of these leaves is just spectacular. I'm running out of video here, I'm running out of battery by the looks of things. So we'll quickly run over to the very final plants. And I can't even see the screen, it's turned all black for me. So it's telling me I've run out of battery. This is another one of those blue Java bananas. And finally we have another Rollinia here. So I'm going to move all of these plants into the backyard over the next couple of days. I'm going to see if we can't get them all ready to kind of handle these low frosty days. This one here is not a tropical plant. This is a Japanese raisin tree, fast growing tree that's deciduous. I'm looking forward to seeing how all of this goes.